Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Whoop, whoop. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I have a fellow podcaster here, first time on Juicy Scoop, Jessica Rothschild. We had a long conversation a while ago on a phone, and then you told me about your new podcast that was coming out, which is like a series, a specific series, like a docu series.
It's a docu series,
and you're like, I think this is right up your alley. I'm like, yeah, it is. It is the secrets behind the soul cycling. All those weird things that we'd hear of strange stuff going on. The podcast is called Cult of Body and Soul.
Yeah.
So I want to let's just start.
Yeah, let's go.
Just give me a little background on you and all the different things you do. And then and obviously you're very fit. You have a tiny little worked out
you
body.
did grope me as I was coming up.
I was like, oh, I can see.
You fully like...
I'm like, look at this little tiny waist. But no, you're like a little petite worked out thing. And so you got into this exercise. But prior to getting into the exercise, just give us a little background on what your career was up until doing this podcast.
Yeah. So back in the day, I started as a writer. I was a founding writer of like the largest independent lesbian website, like period. It still exists.
Oh, great.
And there I interviewed like everyone I ever wanted, like everyone from the L Word, Sandra Bernhard, Margaret Cho, any like tangentially related like lesbian person.
Yeah, and so lesbian, that's a great name.
Yeah, that is where I first met Julie and Brandy.
Oh, okay.
We go way back because they used to do movie reviews for that site, which is called Autostraddle.
Okay.
Okay. And so that's why I've known Julie and Brandy. We've like traveled together. We've like been intense together. Like we've done it all. And so that was where I really learned how to like book guests and like write an email that will get a response. I was like a below nobody, nothing. And then years later, I mean, I've worked in tech full time, but like was really my passion. And then when I was always a podcast listener, and specifically yours was actually one of the first podcasts. Aside from Howard Stern, you were really like the first true podcast, like on the iPod that I ever got into.
Thank you.
I was ahead of the curve with the technology. And so anyway, and so I've been listening since like the early days, like podcast one, like forever. And I fell into podcast. Like I was always a behind the scenes person, like a writer and like a journalist. And I somehow my ex really got me into the Housewives, like something that I never thought I'd get into. And she's like, you just need to understand Bethany Frankel. And then I realized she is my soulmate. I realized, I can really, and she's like, you need to understand Jill Zarin. And so, of course,
because you're a New Yorker. Obviously, we hear you're a New Yorker in your voice.
I'm from Long Island. Originally, I'm from Long Island.
Yeah,
much like Jill Zarin.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, of course, because I'm then going to take it to the extreme, I like begin doing a podcast, and I just take it, all to the extreme. And so I was doing like a Bravo related, but like every New York housewife has like been in my apartment. So then I interviewed, because I had that background in interviewing, like I knew how to be really meticulous with research and how to make people really feel comfortable. And then because I was such a Howard Stern fan, I really understood the art of the audio medium.
Yeah,
and how to do it, just because I was a listener.
Yeah.
So I just innately understood. And then it grew, the show, I moved away from Bravo, and I started really like going back to my roots, like interviewing like Sandra Bernhard, Margaret, like, but now in audio form. And like Rosie O'Donnell was like that was a big like breakthrough. Of course, during COVID, everyone's like doing nothing. So like I was able to do all these major interviews. And then I've always loved documentary, but like how would I make I'm not a filmmaker. Like, and then I realized, oh, I can just use my medium. And I just figured it out. And this is my second.
This episode of Juicy Scoop is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com is one of the most downloaded travel apps in the world, and that makes it the place to list your vacation rental. I know a lot of you guys have extra homes that you rent out and want to make money on and make a big business out of it and make it convenient. That is why you have to list your vacation rental on Booking.com. For the bookings you've dreamed of, list your property on Booking.com. And your first one was
On the history of Fire Island. Like,
and which is a gay, not a gay island. I mean, it's an island.
it is a gay island.
But I mean, you don't have to be gay to be there. But it was like the first kind of like vacation, East Coast vacation homes for
New
gay
Yorkers.
people to go to, right? Yeah.
Starting in the 50s.
Oh, okay.
And so
So it was like there and Palm Springs. But I feel like Palm Springs Palm Springs was more of like an escape from Hollywood, but because there were so many secret gay people in Hollywood is where it then became such a gay
I never thought
community.
you're right.
Yeah.
But this was like back when being gay was illegal. Like you
Right.
couldn't, like they would arrest people. Like they had a quota of people. And even on Fire Island, there was a quota of people they had to round up and like they would arrest them and people would lose their jobs for having like public sex. You know, they'd be
Yeah.
written up in the newspaper and then because they were outed, they would lose their jobs.
Oh my God.
And so, but in that series, I interviewed people who have been there from the 50s all the way to like Joel Kim Booster to like
yeah.
make this a sellable product.
Right.
But there, like I interviewed this like 90-year-old drag queen who like he's the oldest living drag queen, period. He's like an
Amazing.
icon on Fire Island. He's in like in a suit singing like Judy Garland.
Amazing.
Yes.
So you do all that,
Yeah.
and at the time, the Soulcycle thing was something that I think I've done it like twice. I had every friend of mine that was into working out loved it. It just wasn't for me.
Were you ever like into fitness?
I actually hate cardio. No, I like Pilates. I like
Okay.
yoga. I like going on like a 4-mile walk.
Yeah.
I just was never into like cardio jazzercise.
Like classes.
Yeah, and the classes and like, but it was fine. Like when people would invite me, I would go and I'd feel good about myself, but I never like joined one where I was going 3 days a week at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like it was such a big thing. And then there were stories that came out about it. And then there was like, wasn't there like a Soulcycle guy that like became super famous that also was like on Dancing with the Stars or something? Like the actual people doing the stuff became celebrities, right?
Particularly the New York, because it started in New York. Spinning really started in LA. Like
Okay.
actually the first episode, the title of it is Made in LA
Uh-huh.
because this all, if you trace back like spinning and indoor cycling, the story starts here. And so it was such a, you know where I first heard the word spinning? The year is 1997. And Helen Hunt is about to win the Oscar for As Good as It Gets.
Uh-huh.
And she's interviewed on the red carpet. I can't believe this memory is coming back to me. I've
Yeah.
never like said this outside my head. And she's interviewed on the red carpet and they're like, oh, because like she'd lost weight from Mad About You, which I was such a fan of that show.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? And she's like, I've been doing a lot of spinning. And I don't know if I'm Google, like Yahoo, whatever, like what is spinning? Like that, because it was 97.
Yeah.
But in LA, it was happening at like Gold's Gym.
I remember Patty Stanger when she would like do her show, $1 Million Matchmaker, and even when she talks now, she would say, oh, so you like a spinner. You like a little spinner girl, meaning like a small, skinny girl that could do a spinning class. Like, and
she would say that to the guys.
Like, is that the type that you
to the
want?
millionaires.
Like, you want,
I remember that.
You want like a little spinner, like, of what it is. And, right now, I want to get into the whole thing, but like I do feel like in the exercise world, especially in LA, because people are always looking for the fix. Now it's a shot. Like get your shot on, but
It's
you still
so
need to
wild.
but you still need to work out.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, like how my friends that were really into exercise.
Tell me.
So they were into spinning. They were into the bar method, which was like ballet with a
Yes.
bar or something where you're like, I don't know. Those were classes. Those were franchises that you could do.
Remember Tracy Anderson?
Then Tracy Anderson would do this weird, like, where people were like, okay, allegedly, weren't people like breaking ankles and stuff?
Correct.
Because you would like do a weird, like jumping like on wood.
It was those stories that would come out of that were crazy.
Okay, can we talk about some alleged stories? So I'm trying to remember, what was that? Because that was like the Gwyneth
No,
Paltrow.
you hit it. That's what I'm remembering that story. What you just said.
Yeah, and I remember like when I was on Chelsea Lately, they'd talk about it,
Yeah.
or maybe Chelsea was very athletic, so I think maybe she tried to do it. And then she became a celebrity in her own, the Tracy Anderson
Method, yeah.
And yeah, and then I saw you did an interview recently where they were talking about the old Bravo show.
Workout with Jackie Warner.
Yes.
I could do an hour on Jackie Warner if you want to go there. I mean, do you remember? Were you aware?
Yes. Well, first of all, I was watching Bravo when it was just the guy in front of the college kids talking to an A-list actor. What was that called?
Inside the actor studio.
Inside the actor studio. And then the first reality show I ever saw on Bravo, which I bring up at least 3 times a year. And it's something that we will never be able to redo because it was locked in a certain time in LA, which was Showbiz Moms and Dads. And the kids come out for pilot season and they live at those apartments, I can't even think of the name. The Oaks?
The Oakwood apartments.
The Oakwood apartments. Yeah. And they're trying to get a sitcom. And they had like a toddler and tiara type of person. They had like a mom trying to make her son like a country singer. It was like one of the greatest. If I could just go back to that time in my life, God could said, do you want to go back? Like that would be one of the times that I'd be like, just take me back to that house that I was living in and watching those shows. Because it was just fascinating to me because we had an agent growing up. My nieces and nephews did. So it was just very interesting. But with Jackie Warner, she had a gym.
Sky Sport and Spa.
And she's a lesbian.
A big one.
What does a big one mean? Are you a little one because you're little?
No,
or like, yeah.
It's a quote from the First Wives Club.
Oh, okay. A big one. So what happened to her?
I have a 5-part miniseries on my regular. I've interviewed her 5 times.
Where is she now?
Ohio.
Doing what?
She trains people on Zoom if you're interested.
Okay. But did she have, in a nutshell, and then everybody go back and listen to your 5-part series, did she have like a breakup with fame after the show or what was it?
Okay. I'll quickly give you the Jackie Warner,
okay.
I'm going to do a type 3 on Jackie Warner.
Okay. You can do a type 4.
Okay. I mean, I could talk for hours. This is so interesting. Her whole story is interesting. So first of all, she was.
So it was a gym show. I'll just tell you, it was a show about her running her LA gym. I think she had a partner. She had a couple people who worked there, and it was just the drama.
It was the drama with the trainers,
with the trainers at a very exclusive like LA gym.
Yes.
And there's some celebrities that pop in and make a cameo.
Oh, she trained like Alanis Morissette, Jodie Foster would work out. Like they all became like her clients.
Okay, so tell the story. Go.
So prior to her opening so she was with Jillian Michaels for 6 years.
As a couple?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
That was not public information. I knew it, but it was not public until our first interview. And
Jillian Michaels, for people to remember, she was the pretty brunette trainer that was on the weight loss show where they'd make the people take off their shirts and weigh themselves.
Biggest Loser.
Yes.
With Bob Harper, who was on this year's Traders.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, remember him?
Yeah. There was
he's got the tattoos.
Yeah. And they were the trainers and they would
but she was known to be Jillian was known to be like really abusive, allegedly.
Verbally to the people, you mean?
Just her, just in general.
Okay.
To everybody in society. She's banned from Watch What Happens Live.
Oh, well, I probably am too. I don't know about that. Anyway, go on. Yeah.
Okay. So what people don't know is they opened the gym featured on Workout. They co-owned that gym. And then producers approach. So they open that gym. Producers are casting The Biggest Loser. they go to Jackie Warner first. And she's like, I don't want to do that. I just opened this gym, and then puts Jillian up for it.
Who was her girlfriend?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And so
wasn't Jillian, which is kind of interesting because I interviewed her once. Wasn't Jillian? I thought the story was this. So this is interesting. I thought the story was Jillian was like an agent's assistant. She was an agent's assistant, and then somehow heard about the show and was already in fitness and put herself up for it.
No.
Okay. But I might have the wrong story.
I mean, also,
I'm not saying that Jillian told me that. For some reason, that's what I remember. But
well, this is what Jackie Warner told me. Okay. So who are we believing? Yeah. I mean, you can choose.
It's not a bad story. Either one is fine. Either one is. So what? You still were a star on the show, Jillian. Like, you know, you still made the show. So go on. Yeah.
So ultimately, so then of course Jackie gets workout, very successful, becomes like the go-to fitness person in all the magazines, like Self, like she's on the cover, and whenever they need a quote from like an expert, they're going to her because she's the face of health and fitness. But then here's what happened. She went to sleep. She took an Ambien to go to sleep. And remember when people were like tweeting on Ambien and like eating like crazy in the middle of the night?
Getting up in the middle of the night and like driving.
That's exactly what happened to her. And she drove to 7-Eleven in like her panties and like no shoes to like get chips. And they arrested her for a DUI. Like she didn't even do anything. She was like, it looked intoxicated because you're like out of it. She was in a blackout. It was like an Ambien blackout. And DUI, the mugshot, TMZ. And
is Ambien even still around? I feel like no one talks about Ambien anymore. Because it was also like the stories of like Tiger Woods would take Ambien and be with his lovers. And
isn't that what Roseanne blamed those tweets on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they arrest her for that. And also that looks bad because you're buying chips.
That's the least of her problems was the chips. So she said in our third interview, I finally got around to like, so why did you go home to Ohio? You know, like she coincidentally left LA right before the pandemic.
Okay.
She's from Ohio, so her family is there.
So the show had been off for a while, like 10 years, and she was still being a successful trainer.
Yes.
Took the Ambien, got arrested for that, and then
That's
left.
A career killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it all dried up. Like the appearances, like the jobs really dried up. Like that's the worst thing maybe that could have happened.
How did she feel about the role that the TV show played in her overall life and career? Was it all positive, negative?
I think mostly all positive.
Okay.
That's good. I think mostly all positive.
So you're in New York, you're into this. Tell me a little bit about your experience and then why you felt that there was a whole story to be told on a multi-episode series here.
Yeah. So I was always into working out. And like I always went to the gym, and I would occasionally take spin classes at my gym and hated it. But I kept going back. I don't know why. I don't have an answer. And then a friend was like, my friend.
But do you believe that working out can be an addiction?
100%. It's called orthorexia.
Oh, interesting.
Whatever goes in has to come out. Yeah. Well, not in an eating disorder way, in like an exercise compulsion way. Oh, of course.
Why? That sounds like the worst addiction. Not something I never have to
think
worry
I have
about.
it.
Really? Do you think you might a little bit?
I definitely have like addict compulsive energy, but luckily it manifests in like healthy things.
Okay.
I can be really impulsive.
Yeah.
But also that can be good too.
Right.
Like, but it's not, I never was into like drinking or drugs, but I can like do this.
Okay. So you're never into the spinning at your gym. And so then did you?
A friend of mine lived next to a studio.
Okay.
Now like cut to like we're in Manhattan.
What year is this now?
This was like 2011.
Okay.
So Soulcycle had opened, but it was just like one studio at first. And So what's interesting, I mean, the way Soulcycle was founded is like very juicy and interesting. And that's all, it's basically, without like without like telling the whole story, it's basically what happens when 3 women come together. You know how like 3's a really bad number?
I always remember my sister picking up her daughter from a play date, and then she goes, "Oh, and next time we should also include whatever, little Jenny."
That's the beginning and the end.
And the mom goes, "I don't think 3s work."
What? Why'd she say that?
The mom just said it, and it always just, and I was not a mom at the time, and my sister was like, "Why not? Like everyone can, the more the merrier, and they're all friends." And so it just is stuck into my head, and it's not a rule I, ever attested to. I've had lunches with 3 people. It's fabulous. Like whatever.
You know what?
But
think
there's
of like the White Lotus. Think of like the White Lotus.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting. The White Lotus aspect.
That is the perfect dramatization of this phenomenon that happens in female friendships. Like I think it's the first episode of the White Lotus where like you find them like talking shit about each other.
Yeah.
And like it's all like great when they're together, but inevitably, and this is women. Gossip is the social lubricant of society. And women will always be talking about each other. Even if they love, there's just a thing.
No, I mean, that's why, look, I was always scared to walk into a classroom and have someone be like, "I heard what you said about me." And before there were podcasts, where now everybody just freely talks about each other, and at least people can make money at it. But it is weird when you actually now in this day and age can listen to your friend or a cohort person, someone who does what we do, and hear them like tell some story about you. And you're like, well, that's not even true, but I don't know if I want to address it. And then it becomes a big thing, whatever. And I'm like, this is so weird because it used to be that, everyone talked behind each other's backs, but we didn't know what they were saying. Unless you did the 3-way call, which you might be too young for.
Oh, I was that too. Of course.
Where you could
we can now, no,
secretly have someone listen. Yeah. I think they might have done it in the movie Mean Girls, but like you could call and you'd be like, "Okay, shut up, don't say a word." And then the girl would call another girl and that girl would get the person to talk about the one who's on silent. And this would happen like in high school. And it was just, and weirdly enough, I don't really think that as we mature, our priorities become our partners and our kids if we're mothers, or our careers, or we just are like, oh, the petty stuff doesn't matter as much. But the reason Real Housewives is so popular is because essentially it is about women's friendships. That's all these shows are about, are women's friendships. And that's our sporting event, is watching, can these people be friends? Can they tell each other off who's right, who's wrong? And then they sit back and they're like, "Oh, but I love those 2 together." I'm like, you writing in the comments is what tore these 2 people apart or whatever. And then if we don't think it's authentic, then we're like, "Oh, well, they're just doing it for the show." And so getting back to your thing, so 3 women.
So I'm going to give it to you in like a quick nutshell to like illustrate this. So the way Soulcycle was founded, and this is just like a taste of like, this is like the initial jumping off point. Essentially, to like really boil it down, you have a woman who was a talent agent in LA. She worked for Benny Medina.
Oh, okay.
So that's the person.
That's J-Lo's big manager.
So she understood how to turn celebrities into brands.
Okay.
So like J-Lo, Tyra Banks, P. Diddy. Okay. So that's one of them. And so she understood LA. She winds up moving back to New York. Another woman was successful. Her husband worked in finance. They had money. And then this third person was just a spin instructor, teaching spin at a gym. And separately, the talent agent and the woman with money say to their spin instructor, they did not know each other. They separately say to the spin instructor, "I have dreams of opening a spin studio," because boutique spin didn't exist.
Okay.
And so the spin instructor is like, "Let's go to lunch." So they go to lunch at the Soho House. This is 2006.
The 3 of them together, or she does a lunch with each?
No. She goes, let me introduce you.
Okay.
Because the one had money.
Okay.
they didn't have money, but the other
The talent agent didn't have money.
No.
Okay. Got
even
it.
though she was an agent, didn't have money.
Yeah.
Story of LA. So says the New Yorker. So spin instructor goes, let's all go to the Soho House and like talk. Like, I think this other woman can like help us out. Like, she has the same dream and has money. Like, the point, like she had money to throw into a startup. They go to the Soho House in like January of 2006. 4 months later, they open the first Soulcycle. A year later, the spin instructor is cut out of the deal.
How does that happen?
Because allegedly, and she wrote this in a book, it is true, she did not have legal protection in place.
Oh, she never did like a contract with them?
The contracts weren't written right, or they didn't exist. That's a little bit fuzzy. That part's a little like, why wouldn't you have your contract written? Like, that's a question that like we may not know, or that's an off the record thing. But essentially, you have these two really savvy businesswomen. You have a shark from LA who's a talent manager who knows how to build celebrities and build a brand and knows how to market. And you have this other woman who is really great at real estate and who has a husband in finance, understands money. And then you have a fitness instructor.
Yeah.
She becomes the face of it, like brings her clientele and her riders.
Yeah.
And so for the first year, they're all her riders from like the gym she had been teaching at. And the other two basically realized she didn't want to run she didn't know how to run a business.
Right.
She was a spin instructor.
Yeah.
And there was just like a personality clashing and just like what happens when like one doesn't fit in.
So do they at least like give her a chunk of money and buy her out?
Eventually what happens is they sell, cut 2 years later, they sell Soulcycle to Equinox. And the two
how much?
The two remaining get $90 million each. Do you know how much the
In 2 years, Equinox bought this? It grew
wasn't
that
2
fast?
No, that happened in 2016.
Well, 5 years.
No, 10 years. 2006 to 2016.
Okay. Still, that is kind of amazing. Okay. Yeah.
So they walk away with $90 million each. The spin instructor who introduced them is long gone. She went on to co-found Flywheel. But
the Flywheel didn't last.
Yeah.
There was a Flywheel near my house.
But do you know how much she got?
From which deal?
From the Equinox buying Soulcycle.
Let me guess. 500,000.
0.
Oh. Yeah. And then where is she now? What happened with, because Flywheel's not around either.
She went on, I mean, she definitely is a success. She co-founded the two most successful indoor cycling companies.
Yeah.
Period. They sold Flywheel. I mean, eventually went out of business, but I think she made her money with Flywheel. And she was also older. Like her kids were like in high school, whereas the other two, they had like 5-month-old babies. So there was that different, you can imagine it's a different life.
It's like, I feel like, and then didn't something recently happen politically with like Peloton?
I don't know about that. Politically.
I feel like there was a Peloton, something happened with like Theo Vaughn and Peloton and like Dana White or something.
I don't know about that.
And then Dana White was like, take Peloton out of all of my gyms.
Oh, I don't know.
And so I just wonder, like, are people like on the bikes like they used to be? Is the bike as a thing kind of like not as people are not as like into it?
Well, in the pandemic,
it was huge.
In the pandemic, Peloton like ran a.
You could do the walking Peloton, you could do the ride bike, and they'd have like the videos of like how you could like go through a field in Tuscany or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like that's the kickoff. But your question, are people still on the bike? It's not what it was. It's not in the heyday of Soulcycle was like 20. The apex of its popularity was, I would say, 2012 to 2018,
Okay.
especially in New York. I mean, it was very big here in LA too. But in New York, those instructors, it was like the Real Housewives of Soulcycle. They were in Page Six. They were.
But how much could a Soulcycle instructor get? Were they able to like live in the city while instructing, or were they only getting like $100 a ride?
No, the
Or,
top
like,
instructors were making over $1 million a year
how would they make $1 million a year?
because they sold out those classes. The two women, the ones who stayed,
Yeah.
they understood how to. The reason Soulcycle was so successful was because they wanted to make it so that Soulcycle was their career.
Okay, that's cool.
Unlike the New York versus LA at the time was in LA, you like the trainer, the fitness professional would be teaching at Gold's Gym. They'd have private clients. They'd be like driving all around. And then by the time they got to your 5 o'clock class, they're like exhausted because they've been running around. And so the main concept behind Soulcycle was we're going to invest in our talent. And they always said, this is not a fitness business. It's a hospitality and talent business.
Yeah.
They never saw it as a fitness business.
I remember like there was really good like SNL sketches about it, and like, with the
Yeah.
and so if
They made superstars out of these regular people riding a fucking bike.
So I want to cook more. I know you want to cook more and save money and eat healthy, but also not spend a lot of time in the grocery store, not waste food, and not have it be a disaster. Well, that's what I love about Hungry Root. Hungry Root is like having a personal nutritionalist. They take care of the stressful meal planning each week by recommending delicious recipes tailored to your tastes or your nutrition preferences and health goals. There's no high fructose, corn syrup, artificial sweeteners, or preservatives in any of Hungry Root's food, which we love because we want to eat healthy. The last meal I made was so delicious. It was a creamy chicken and dill Alfredo pasta. It was savory and healthy and I felt like a little gourmet chef. I love Hungry Root. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/juicyscoop and use code JuicyScoop. That's hungryroot.com/juicyscoop, code JuicyScoop to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/juicyscoop, code JuicyScoop. This episode of Juicy Scoop is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com is one of the most downloaded travel apps in the world, and that makes it the place to list your vacation rentals. If you want to earn more with consistent bookings, reach new markets, and turn hosting into a steady income. I know my Juicy Scoopers. I know you guys are entrepreneurs. I know you have vacation rentals. I know that you rent it out and make a living at it. Or want to. Maybe you aren't succeeding at doing that. Maybe you're finding you're not getting amazing guests. Maybe it isn't working out and you have all these empty weekends and you're like not breaking even or even making money at it. I want you to be successful at it. And that's why you got to list your property on Booking.com. So whether you're looking to earn that extra income, fill those vacant weekends, or grow your business, head over to Booking.com to see how you can get started today. The reach is global, the bookings are consistent, and the control is yours. For the bookings you've dreamed of, list your property on Booking.com. So you guys know I'm in a new home and it's time to decorate it and make it my own and hang photos, and that means framing, and I don't want to put holes in the wall, and I don't know if it'll look good. That's what I love about Mix Tiles. Mix Tile uses a revolutionary magnetic hanging system that makes decorating painless. Just peel the magnet, stick it to your wall, and pop your framed photo right in it. That's it. No tools, no damage, no mess. I've heard about mixed tiles for a long time, but I never tried them because I wasn't sure if it truly stays on the wall and leaves no damage. But it actually works beautifully, and now I'm obsessed. Not only will your walls stay damage-free, but your photos will look like they were professionally hung. Gone are the days of choosing between crooked frames and a wall full of holes. With mixed tiles, you can easily adjust each frame until it's the perfect spot. Turn your favorite memories into stunning, affordable wall art. For a limited time, our Juicy Scoop listeners get 35% off on all orders above $139. Just head to mixtiles.com, use code JuicyScoop, and you're all set. That's code JuicyScoop at mixtiles.com. And after you buy, do us a favor. When they ask you where you heard about Mixed Tiles, tell them it was from Juicy Scoop. And this is really kind of before social media. So like what other deals could they get? Like where does the culty part of it come about?
Cult of personality.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The relationships between the riders and the instructors was so a big thing that's been gate capped. So cut to me, like my story is like I'm very much like, I'm telling my story.
Okay.
It's you're hearing like my story with this and also the company story, like what I just explained with the 3 women. So you'll hear like how I like get sucked in, like how I get hooked.
Okay.
And I loved it. Like no complaints. I love a cult. Like I love it. Like, so this isn't like a negative, like I had 100% positive experience.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm the perfect person to like tell this. I don't have an axe to grind.
Yeah.
I'm just telling the truth and making it very entertaining.
Okay.
So when I was I used to say to friends, I would joke that I wanted to like go through the instructor training program, like become a Soulcycle instructor.
Yeah.
Not because I wanted to teach Soulcycle, but because I was so fascinated by the training program. Because it was a thing in New York City that it was like this like 8-week program that they would do in-house at Soulcycle. And it's like, what the fuck are they talking about?
So what would they do? What would they say?
They would teach them, and this is what you hear instructors like take me through the training program. And like they were taught how to seduce the riders.
I don't get it.
In a sense of how to get, for example, Heather, right?
Okay.
How to make it so you're taking a random, it's your first time or whatever, or like you've gone a few times.
Okay, I'm on the bike.
I'm the instructor.
Okay.
So there's a part, so there are candles, like it's dark and it's candlelit, and everyone is sweating. It's sexual. You're like fucking the bike for like 45 minutes, okay?
Okay.
And then there's a moment toward the end, and like the first 3 songs are all about seduction. Like my voice is going to be really slow and very deliberate and soft. And the songs are like, I can't think of like a good example, but like maybe like for some reason I want to say Usher, but like not Usher.
Yeah.
Like a good Rihanna song that's like
a
slower song that's like easier to ride to.
Okay.
And you're all riding to the rhythm of the, so it's like you're dancing.
Okay.
It's like Soulcycles for people who can't dance.
Okay.
And it makes you feel like, okay.
Yeah.
And the instructors are cast. Like they used to lay out headshots. Like the talent agent, she would lay out headshots and be like, who's going to work really well on like the Upper East Side versus who's going to work really well in the West Village. 2 different clientele. And she understood how to cast it, how to change the clothes, what they should do to their hair. Like she knew how to turn these.
So how is this never a reality show? They must have been approached.
So I've been told they've tried to do that. They tried to do a reality show with the instructors. Couldn't get done. I was told that I've had this idea for a very long time. And because I knew this was so interesting.
Okay, what is this life like for like people's knees as they get older?
We're talking hip replacements. We're talking like a lot of the instructors. That's a whole other conversation.
Right, it's not
the whole other.
How long can you be this like sexy instructor? Like,
well, eventually, they teach off the bike. They teach from the floor.
The old ones?
Let's not say that. But you can have a very long career teaching from the floor.
Okay.
Like a yoga instructor is like walking around.
Yeah.
And then they have like a young hot one on the bike.
Okay. And
you could teach forever.
And so where is tell us some of the salacious stuff that we can look forward to.
So, I mean, for me personally, I find the details of the training program to be, that's the thing that years ago I was so obsessed with. Like, what is going on?
At least with these people, though, they were making good money.
Yes.
So no one felt, that's not an element of this.
Until
they
sold to Equinox.
Oh.
Then the founders, the two, when I say we're zeroing in on like the spin instructor gets fucked, she's out.
Yeah.
So the two who are known to be like the beloved heroes, Julie Rice and Elizabeth Cutler, they are known as the founders, even though there is this secret third co-founder, whatever. They are beloved.
Okay.
Beloved. And they eventually, there was kind of a culture war between Soulcycle and Equinox. Equinox is a behemoth. And very different politics. There was a culture war between the two. And that was when they left and sold for $90 million. Equinox takes over, and now you've got that corporate trickle down. Their pay, they're no longer being paid what they were. Like, I had stories of instructors saying how by the time they left, they were making less than half of what they were making at their height. People had their pay structures changed like 4 times. Like the way Equinox ran, they just weren't compatible. It wasn't compatible. It went from this small homegrown company that was also, by the way, very gay. The company, like, they're all performers and dancers and actors. Like, these are why they were so charismatic and why they could, like, they knew how to perform.
And were there Soulcycles like all over America popping up? And were they ever franchised? Like, could I have opened one?
No, that was why they sold to Equinox. They had an initial partnership with Equinox to bring them to LA. Because eventually, there's this weird thing with entrepreneurship with entrepreneurship where in my research for this, there comes a point where suddenly you need like $100 million. Like in order to grow, you need like an enormous influx of cash. So they did this initial partnership with Equinox, and that's how they were able to open like LA. And then there were studios like Beverly Hills, like all over LA. And then Equinox wanted it on like it went from being like the restaurant you couldn't get into to like Applebee's.
Oh.
So yeah, they were, once you're in Michigan, I mean, with all due respect, but like once you're in like the suburbs of Virginia, it lost that there was an exclusivity factor and like celebrity, if you want the Kelly Ripa. Yeah, like it became known like
how did you, but like when you say it was sell it out, how was it like impossible to get in? Would you have to like how would you sign up? Would some people be like a VIP and they could get in, or what was it?
So you would have like your regular, and they also, Soulcycle also, they invented the pay-per-class model.
What's that?
Like you literally pay like $34 per class. You can't, like there's no membership.
Got it.
You can buy like a 10-pack and like maybe you're saving $2, but like it's a pay-per-class model. So very early on, Kelly Ripa, and I credit Kelly Ripa, and I think they would too. Kelly Ripa was the first person who like had a television show talking about Soulcycle and her favorite instructor every day. She would have the bikes at live, live with, I guess, who was it? Kelly and whoever.
Yeah.
Regis, Michael, whoever the people are. And she was really responsible for, the power of television. Like it became this like cultural awareness. And even in the early days, it would like Brooke Shields
she
was
truly
riding.
is a spinner. She's a skinny little thing.
She's a spinner.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was always known to be this like celebrity, that cloud of like Chelsea Clinton was always riding, and Brooke Shields, Kelly Ripa, Tiki Barber,
Yeah.
all these, Kira Sedgwick, like all these people in New York, just like New York, Katie Couric was a big one
Right.
too.
Wow.
So people just want to be where they are.
So they'd be next to be spinning next to them.
Exactly.
And then we're like,
And
then,
yes, you could, what you said before about could you pay more? Yes. So the other side of it is the riders or all these, like, imagine like, oh, you know who's banned from Soulcycle? Sonia Morgan. That gets revealed.
why? What happened?
Because she was
Sonia.
she was making out with her boyfriend in the front row and like talking really loudly
Wait,
during
you
class.
mean before class or as the class is going?
During class. I don't know.
On the bikes they were
Yes.
making out?
Yes.
How
And
can you reach over? How can you even fit?
no, you're very close together. The bikes are.
And
Look how
so
close
they're
they-
like doing it and she stops pedaling to make
I
out.
wasn't there, but the instructor told me.
So this is pre-Housewives? Or you don't
No,
know?
no. This is Housewives. Housewives is happening. And so the studio manager like went over and was like, hey, after the class was like, hey, listen, like if you're in the front row, like no talking, like we're trying to like really like follow what's going on in the class. And she pulled the like, do you know who I am? And threw a huge, and then she was banned.
She's banned from that other restaurant. Did
I
you hear
know.
about that? What's the name of the restaurant? I can't remember. It's
in NoHo, which is an area of New York. Yeah.
And then the next week, I talked about this, but I got a little more info. Allegedly, she threw some fit at a restaurant. She said she was helping some elderly woman at a restaurant who was not feeling well. And then the ambulance came. And then she was allegedly acting so bizarre and weird that they were like, either you come in the ambulance with us or we're going to have to call the police. So the story is then she just went in the ambulance, which sometimes can happen. Like either
Whoa.
you're at, and then you have to pay for that,
Yeah.
ambulance ride and everything. But at least you're not like, don't have a mugshot for being like, you can just say, well,
Wow.
like, why are you acting so weird? I don't know. I better just go to the hospital versus
Yeah.
like being crazy and then having that thing on your record.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, but she's a good time. So she gets banned. That's amazing.
She was banned.
Okay.
I mean, there were all these like, it truly was like the
But wait,
Real Housewives of
how
Soulcycle.
did you? Sorry, the so real. Oh wait, how could you then get so that you would get in the class? Like you could
Like
call,
a priority.
Yeah.
So the classes would all, I mean, this is to this day.
How many were in each class? Isn't it
on,
small?
On average, we'll say 50 bikes.
I mean, and everyone's sweating and it's hot in there. Does this fucking smell like ass or what? Or the candles smell good? And is the candles kind of a fire hazard?
You're making a lot of points.
That's why I never got into it. Did
No,
you?
it
Did you
doesn't
have to
smell.
buy special shoes?
You clip into the bike.
Okay. All right. And so, like, I hate all this. Yeah. Whenever someone tried to get me into it and just say how fun things were, like, I
mean,
can't.
it had this. It became, because you know what it was when I was I used to like, I don't fucking get it. When I was, here's the thing, because I was really into fitness, I would actually work, because you remember when you asked me something hilarious
Yeah.
on the phone. I sent you the trailer.
Yeah.
Here's a little peek behind the curtain. I send Heather the trailer. We get on the phone and you're like, I gotta ask you a question. I have friends who spin. Why do these women who spin not lose weight? And that's a great question. Because it raises the question of, is this a good workout?
Yeah.
And the answer is, when you're just doing cardio,
Yeah.
if you are only doing cardio, your body it spikes a lot of cortisol, which is
Okay.
like the stress hormone. So your body is like constantly in like a fight or flight situation. And if you're not, cardio doesn't change your body. It just like burns sugar and like burns fat.
Okay.
And your body adapts to you become a slave to that level of cardio.
Oh, really?
So
God, have I made some right choices in my life?
you have, because what I've learned is the actual true secret to
being fit.
to being fit is you absolutely need to lift weights. That's the thing that transforms the way you look.
Yeah.
But you actually want to do the minimum amount of cardio you need to stay where you are. Because you don't want to be a slave to it. Because then you're constantly chasing that. You're like circling the drain. It's like, it becomes a vicious cycle of like, oh my God, I gotta run off the, like, who wants, so if you're just like walking and also spinning, because it's so high intensity, it spikes your hunger. So a lot of people who just do high intensity cardio, they eat way more than you would eat if you were to like lift weights or, quite frankly, not work out at all. Like just go for a walk.
Right.
It wouldn't spike your hunger. So you have to know that delicate. If you get addicted to spin, like it's your body isn't going to look the way. It's not going to transform your body.
So did anybody start to like realize that after like losing 3 years of their life in the smelly room?
Oh, that?
Did anyone like start to like
no one really talks about that.
Oh my God, I never really lost weight. I never really got fit. Like I actually stayed the same amount. And
instructors I talked to told me, former Soulcycle instructors told me that they actually gained weight teaching at Soul.
What a fucking nightmare.
Because they didn't have time to like take other, like they were teaching like 12, 16 classes a week.
Yeah.
They didn't have time to like go to Barry's boot camp and like lift weights or go to the gym. There was no time and they were starving.
They were starving? Oh, yeah.
Well, they were hungry. Like there was just how many like shakes can you, just because they're running around. And there was no time to really like take care of yourself.
And then were people then like fucking their trainers or,
oh my God,
spinners and
oh yeah, yes,
yeah,
yes.
And then does that get you kicked out?
No, that's celebrated kind of.
Oh, really?
A little bit. The bad behavior.
Was there ever like someone knowing, like, was there ever some housewife that was fucking like a straight trainer who then, then
no, a woman was served divorce papers on her handlebars because she was fucking her Soulcycle instructor.
And
that's a legendary story.
And the guy had this. Oh my God.
Can you imagine? She was served divorce papers on the handlebars.
Did she
clipped in?
Did she finish the class? Her feet were clipped in.
Yeah.
Did she finish the class?
Let's say yes and for this.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, okay. Well, everybody can listen to it.
I mean, it's juicy. If I don't know, I mean, this.
I want to. Yeah, no, we're gonna listen to it. I wanted to talk a little bit about. This is from the Real Housewives Zone. Let's talk a little bit about that you are a New Yorker. Give the people some Bravo juice.
Yeah.
Real Housewives of New York had 2 seasons with this brand new cast. And then there was talk that it was being canceled. Then Andy goes, it's not being canceled. I don't know where that's coming from. We are actively talking to 10 different women to join the cast. I don't know if that means, of that, it's going to be a brand new cast of 7, if they're going to keep 1 or 2, what that means. But he definitely was saying like New York is not dead and buried as we know it. So what is your thoughts, scoop, theories?
I mean, I've been shouting from the rooftops what the thing that now everybody says, which is that they should move Lindsay Hubbard over from Summer House. Yeah. I've always loved Summer House. I love Vanderpump too, but Summer House, because it's the Hamptons, it's New York. Like I've always loved that show. And I think if they moved Lindsay and Paige, actually, here's my theory. I think if I was producing it, I would move Lindsay, Paige, and Amanda over, and she would never do it. I would also throw Hannah Berner in there because that's the only way that there can be resolution in that friendship. The Paige, Amanda, Hannah Berner.
But then where does that leave Summer House? Just get all new younger people.
Yeah,
Summer House should be a young thing. I mean, it should be what it is. Like in your, 25 to 35, you share a house in Summer House. It should be newer people. It shouldn't be married couples. Well, it shouldn't be people having kids. It should be,
I think you can totally keep the people like Sierra, of course, like West and Jesse.
Yeah.
But
graduate the other people out And
maybe
let's see their
Kyle
life
and
in
Amanda
the
can
city.
still do it, but I think there's a blending that could certainly work.
You know, I think like, you know, with Hannah and Paige, they're so successful doing their own thing. But then I also think people get burnt out on this too,
Mm-hmm.
on the podcasting, the touring and stuff. And so I would say if the opportunity came up and they were to ask me my opinion, maybe not Hannah, but certainly Paige, I think it could be a really fun, different thing to keep her going. And she could still do her thing with Hannah and to just keep doing it because you've already put it all out there anyway. So it's not like a big, that's what I was saying when I was interviewing these two really young people that were on Vanderpump Villa, which is on Hulu.
Yeah.
I was like, now there was a time when I would interview the original Vanderpump kids,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, you know, we were scared to take the leap and be on this show. They had to really be convinced because they were all trying to be actors. And at that time, their agents were like, if you go on a reality show, then no one's going to take you seriously when you come in for a casting on a sitcom or a drama or whatever. Now I feel like the industry is so weird that it's a great move to go be on a reality show. You're already putting your life out there on Snapchat and TikTok
That's
and
the thing.
everything. And they don't care. There's no shame. No one cares about what your body count is or who your OnlyFans, whatever.
Body count.
So you might as well just like, you know what I mean? Like the kids on Below Deck, I'm always like, I can't believe there's like cameras in those tiny rooms.
Yeah.
And we're actually like seeing you guys fuck. Like,
Yeah.
and you're still having to like make pancakes in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? Why don't you just be a full porn star? Like, I'm sometimes confused
Let me
by
ask
it.
you a question.
Yeah.
Okay. Who would you, if you were producing, okay, I gave you my like
Yes,
dream
I'll
scenario.
tell you, yeah.
What would you do if you were producing and casting?
Well, I love
this?
the idea of like graduating a few people over, like Lindsay and Paige. I think that would really be good. And Amanda, you know, but then I guess she still has to deal with her husband. I don't know. I'm not totally keyed into the Summer House. So I
Okay.
know it's super popular. But I know all the players. Of these people.
Who would
Okay.
you keep? Who would you keep? I know it's tough.
It really is. Definitely not Jenna Lyons. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Can I tell you something? I think I'm responsible for getting her cat.
Why? Tell me.
It's too long of a story.
I just didn't understand when she came and the fandom over it. It was the same thing in the fandom over Soulcycle. I was just like, I don't get why everyone's like fucking losing their shit over the girl.
I was the one losing the shit.
Why? What is so amazing?
It doesn't translate. She's not made for
I just didn't think there was anything that like she wasn't, I mean, I think she's like a fine person. You know, that's the thing. All of them, nobody except for maybe Brynn was really annoying. I didn't feel like anybody was annoying. I don't feel like anybody's an unintelligent person or anything. Just they weren't like silly or fun to watch at all. They just weren't.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a history. They were cast. So, and then you come into something this many years in and like you're kind of making a bigger deal out of something or the producers might be pushing you.
They almost need to find people. They almost need to get like 70-year-olds who have like never seen Housewives. You need to, who is the person who isn't self-producing and doesn't know how to use Instagram and hasn't been watching 20 years of like, who is that person? It's like, you have to go.
I don't even know how you do it.
You know, that's
like,
why I'm saying
it's
like it's
the
tough.
Valley, you know, I watched the Valley and I like it. But after a while, like you are just watching people like break up and get divorced. And sometimes it's a little too dark and a little too sad and a little too real. I don't know, but I mean, I'll still watch it. I don't like Jessel and her husband trying to be funny all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So she can go. Sorry. Uba's super annoying, in my opinion.
Agree.
Totally annoying. Oh, I'm the prettiest. I'm the best. I'm the greatest, darling. That was too much. That wasn't funny.
We watched 2 seasons of her, and we know nothing about her.
I don't know.
Why why did they cast her?
Just because she's pretty and like
We
whatever.
know nothing.
Yeah.
Terrible. Okay.
She was terrible. Sai, again, a cool chick. I interviewed her, but like not particularly funny or anything on camera. Just like not popping. I mean, when you think about what made Real Housewives of New York, the original, so great, is because we had been watching reality TV for 15 years. They were women who were stars in their own mind. They did lead an exceptional lifestyle that's unique to being in New York. If you could make it here, you can make it anywhere. New York is unique. You have to be a badass. You have to either have come from nothing and made it or come from something and you're still making it. Like that's what we wanted to see as people who don't live there. So you can't have people just like moving there and doing nothing or being like Leah McSweeney, who again, there was, nothing really interesting. She wasn't wealthy. Like I don't know who to cast. Like
the reason why the original New York cast worked was because they were all characters.
And they all knew each other. Jill put them all together.
They were like, Jill's a character.
Yeah.
Luann is a character. Ramona is a Bethany character. And the other ingredient is each of those people, I mean, don't forget Alex McCord, is they all have a level of delusion.
Right. You have to be, that's what I'm saying.
These are just like my neighbors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the other thing I think that killed it is they all were, everyone has to be on social media. I get it. But if I was a producer, I would say, you're not doing your content. Like you're not, what do you call it? Moonlighting. You're not going to moonlight when you're filming. When you're filming, you're not taking video of your outfits or any of that stuff. When your guys are on camera, if you want, we can have someone take some photos of your outfit at the end, but like give us your phone. Check it every hour. Like it's the phone thing that made, that was so weird.
Oh my God, it like levitated.
Yeah, it's like sliding. My drink was falling. Anyway, yeah, I think that's a big part. And
it's tough.
Following the lifestyle of a social media brand person, it's not interesting.
Zero.
It's not, okay, you got to take 3 things of this and do the ad and okay, whatever. It's just not that juicy. It's not like being on a movie set.
What do you think is the future of Andy?
Well, I don't think anybody wants to see someone else take over the reunions and, the way he does his thing is special. They at one time, remember they had Nicki Minaj do one?
Potomac.
I think they were like testing out, like, could we have other people do it? So I think we still need him to do that. Watch What Happens Live is still fun. I get that they get bigger stars, and I think that's great for the show. But I remember seeing that those were the ones that actually don't do that well.
Oh, I know. It's all the housewives who do.
But I also think the influx of all the after shows, like there's after shows of every show.
Yeah.
And then everyone has a podcast. So I don't think like Watch What Happens Live is as valuable as it was in like, oh my God, we've got the 2 people sitting here after they're seeing the episode for the first time. How do they feel about it?
They've already filmed that after show a month ago. And
then they put them in the positions of asking the really mean, snarky things like Joe Schmo from Beaver Creek, Ireland says, why does your face look so different? What kind of work did you have done? Like to get the snarky stuff out. And then it's always like, well, you'll see in the show. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what's the future of it? I don't know. I think they do a really good job. When I catch it, I like it. But I think that he should just stay on the shows maybe.
I feel like
just do the TV part.
Remember how like there was that rumor of like there was an announcement coming which never came.
Right. In
Andy.
April, which I'd heard and I talked about it. I said, I don't believe that he would ever step down voluntarily, and I don't believe they would get rid of him and replace him with who? The guy that said the shitty stuff about Shannon Bedore on Love Hotel. I'm like, no, we don't need a 30-year-old that has no life experience talking to these women. So I don't think there's anyone that we'd want. So unless there was something horrible, salacious, in which there was one of these things like we're going to do a mutual goodbye, I don't think
Yeah.
he would not do it. Dad or not, you can adjust it so like everything's done in 3 days and you're home by 6.
I think if there's the rumor I heard literally last night at dinner was the announcement, because like they didn't want to be scooped, is that they're gonna
juicy scooped like I did.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's now gonna something may be announced at BravoCon. We'll see if that happens. But I truly think that the only sort of announcement would be that he's no longer going to be the executive producer.
Why would I don't believe that? Because
Really?
why the only announcements that are going to have at BravoCon have to be positive. Do you imagine telling a group of a woman?
Yeah.
And by the way, we have a big announcement. Next BravoCon, I won't be here. Like, no way. It won't be anything negative.
You're right.
If there is I feel like the announcement was all the shakeups of the shows. Maybe there wasn't anything big. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to continue to do, these things. But maybe he'll scale back in other ways or something. I don't know.
He said on the radio last week that
maybe he won't do reunions, though. That would be a bummer. That would be
and
a
then
real
they'll bring
bummer.
in Joel Kumbooster to host the
Please,
reunion.
No, that would suck to, yeah.
I think I'm the only person on earth who hates all reunions. I know that I'm in the minority. I know people only watch them.
They definitely get dragged out too long, especially when the season didn't really have that much going on, and so much gets resolved, like is sort of resolved by the time they get there.
Yeah.
Like the only thing juicy out of Beverly Hills is that Garcelle quit. Like that was it. Like there was nothing else that came out of there that was like an awe moment. We still didn't know if what do you think as a lesbian? What do you think of Kyle? I go back and forth every day. Not every day, probably every week. I know that her daughter had an engagement party. I saw a photo of her with some other housewives. I don't know if Morgan Wade went. I don't know what's going on there. What do you think?
I think she confirmed that they had, or that she
never confirmed anything. She has never said, Kyle has never said, Morgan and I were more than friends, and who knows if we'll be more than that later. She has never said that. She's hinted over. There was a reunion 2 years ago. She goes, who knows? Maybe Morgan will be sitting next to me next year. Hint. She then says Morgan doesn't want to be part of anything. Then the last one was, I had to talk to my daughters about what was being said, but she still never said, and like Kathy's laughing, she still never said, I have been with a woman and I like it.
You know what it is?
What is it?
Their relationship is unstable. So she can't. It's clear that if she's not confirming anything, it's because their actual relationship.
She and Morgan.
Or whatever the situation, the relationship just in like this a relation, the relationship is probably a bit up and down and not in any kind of solid, we're friends, or it's probably this weird gray area. So what is there really to say?
Right. Yeah.
Very common with women.
I don't really think they're romantic in a romantic thing anymore. In my personal opinion, I don't. I think they did have something.
Are they still dressing like Wayne's World?
No, and I think they're just kind of friends, and so like Julie Goldman, who is a lesbian, I was like, can lesbians stay friends after they break up?
That's
because
the whole
it seems
thing.
like gay men can women? I mean, obviously these are general statements.
Generally speaking, every lesbian's like her crew of 3 best friends are her exes.
Okay, so it can happen.
No, that's like usually the way it works.
Oh, I thought it was the opposite.
No. And in fact, one of my really good friends, like over in January, she's like, I have to tell you, like, we're getting divorced. She and her wife, they're already like, on Instagram, it's kind of nuts to watch. Like, besties, my sister wife. I'm like, this is embarrassing. Stop.
She's calling her ex-wife now her sister wife?
Yeah. Something like, I'll show you after. It's weird.
Well,
hopefully she's not watching. But yes.
Okay, does Erin stay?
I think so.
Bryn?
I think Erin's great. Erin gives me that that the Jewish New Yorker, like she's that influx of like the Jill Zarin Bethany. She feels familiar.
I just felt like I still watched it. I liked their outfits. I love a New York background. They're all very gorgeous. It felt like sometimes when I watch these shows, it is work because I talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'd be falling asleep. I couldn't get through it. I think I just my guess would be that actually none of them are going to come back.
The reason I react that way,
And I'm not saying I want it to. I have a feeling.
so the reason why I react that way,
Just
like
have a
sort of
fresh
like
slate.
surprise, is because that would be Bravo admitting that it failed.
Right.
And they were clinging to the idea of like it working, unless like maybe they can be cool and be like, the audience was right, it didn't work, we're gonna try again. But like, gee, like can they do that? That's so
Okay, if they keep 2,
yeah.
I think it'll just be Aaron and Cy.
Okay, my guess if they keep 2, it's gonna be Aaron and Jessel.
Okay. Definitely.
That's my guess.
Definitely Aaron can be kept because she's like normal and keeps it moving.
Yeah.
And she's super pretty. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you're looking for a juicy
Can you just look
one-
at Alec Baldwin?
Oh my God. Alec Baldwin was there with Hilaria.
So
That's funny on Soulcycle. Look at the girl in the back
Okay,
laughing.
wait. That's not her. What if I didn't know? I'm like, oh my God, that's me. So at a studio in the Hamptons, the East Hampton studio, something that was cool about Soul is like they'd always like try stuff. It was very like culture of yes. So they would like do random stuff. So you know how Ilaria was a yoga instructor?
Yes.
So at the East Hampton studio, the basement, she was like, oh, I want to teach yoga here. And so for like a summer, she just had a pop-up like yoga thing in the basement of the Soulcycle.
And did
there.
people come?
Yeah, it was just like random and weird. I remember that.
And was she speaking in a Spanish accent
Of
back
course.
then? Oh, back then she was. And did you
Yeah.
think she was from Spain?
Yeah. Leonardo and my children. Yeah.
Leonardo who? DiCaprio?
No,
What?
Leonardo. Doesn't one of her kids named Leonardo?
Oh, yes. Yes.
That was the name. Carmen and Leonardo. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Just that image of, for some reason, I find this photo to be so funny. The visual of Alec Baldwin struggling through one of these classes to me is just very funny. I don't
Yeah.
know why. So that's why I sent that. Like, it was so funny.
Well, yeah, she's doing fine in life. Hilaria. And she just says she has like a coding problem where she just goes back and forth to
Right.
thinking she's Spanish or I don't know. She never really explained it. Never, Hilaria, Blake Lively, Sherry Papini. Who else could they all hang out with? Meghan Markle.
Oh, are you casting the show?
Yeah, I'm just calling all those weirdos could get together. And
All
they're
the
just
the misfits
of
of New York City.
kind of liars. I don't know. I know that she was always being talked about to join that Housewives, but got her own show instead, which is probably what he would have wanted. So, everybody, if you're looking for a juicy thing and you lived this life or never lived it, and thank God you didn't, it's Cult of Body and Soul, and it drops.
First 2 episodes are out right now.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then it'll be weekly. And I mean, if you just want juicy story, like I interviewed like a lot of former like instructors, people who worked at corporate, front desk staff, like the people who were like dealing with the clients yelling about like, why do you move my bike? I should be on bike 6, like yelling. all like and sort of dealing with the Ramonas and the Sonias.
Yeah. I love it.
You get it?
I love it. All right, you guys, and where can they follow you on social and everything?
JessXNYC is my Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. Go to heathermcdonald.net, click on that Patreon, and get ready to change your life. So it'll give you more energy than a Soulcycle class, telling you. Thank you. Bye.